We're here to protect the Salish Sea and all the people who cherish and depend on it, and all of the creatures who live in it and above it. We are here to protect all of that from the unacceptable risks embodied by the Kinder Morgan pipeline expansion. You know, thinking about Labor Day, I remember that it was actually exactly 1 year ago today, on September 2nd, that I was being loaded onto a police bus in Washington, D.C., outside the White House, at a protest against the Keystone XL pipeline. Right. Along with 1,000 of my closest friends. More than 1,000 were arrested in the course of those protests. And in the months since, we have managed to beat back proposal after proposal, plan after plan to revive that pipeline carrying dirty tar sands crude. And we are going to beat back this pipeline too. This is a movement that is on a roll. We're going to beat that pipeline. We're going to beat this pipeline. We're going to beat the Enbridge pipeline and any other scheme that they come up with to carry their climate-disrupting, cancer-causing, water-polluting, community-destroying oil out of northern Alberta. 2 years ago, I attended another gathering that felt a little bit like this one, also on the banks of the Salish Sea at another park, and that was the much-missed Under the Volcano Festival. I'm sure many of you attended Under the Volcano over the years. And back then, 2 years ago, many of us were just learning about the ambitious plans for all of these pipeline, the expansion of the tar sands pipeline network, whether it was Keystone or Enbridge or Kinder Morgan. And what happened at that gathering is some of us were starting to imagine that we could build a new kind of movement on the backbone of their infrastructure, on the spine of the pipelines that they wanted to lay down. That this could be a movement that would span vast geographies and unite diverse communities, that it would be international because their plans are international, they're inherently international. And 2 years later, that vision has become a reality. That vision of this amazingly diverse movement led by First Nations people. It's happened, and I think it was Gerald Amos who described this movement as a magical canoe because it just seems to get bigger and bigger the more people climb aboard. It just keeps expanding. And there is a magical quality to it because something more has happened, more than just an oppositional movement, more than just a movement that's saying no to these pipelines. I think that what's happened is that as we have confronted, really thought about the threat posed by this particularly toxic form of fossil fuel to our communities, to our salmon streams and rivers and coasts, as we've thought about it and contemplated it, we have fallen in love more deeply with this place that we live, that many of us are so blessed to live. It's not a movement that is against something. It is a movement that is for something. And that love is not anything that you can, bottle. It's not like the, corporate boosterism of the Olympics when we were ordered, love this place and advertise this place, or the cheap nationalism sold by governments. This is something that runs a lot deeper, and you see it in the way communities all along the Enbridge Gateway route have rallied from Bella Bella to Prince Rupert. Thousands of people in these pretty small communities where school children worked for weeks on banners and posters expressing the way in which they cherish their waters, their land, their coasts. And musicians have written love songs about it, and painters and photographers have challenged themselves to make beautiful art to express what is so special about this place to the world. It's really been a remarkable, remarkable couple of years. And this kind of love that I'm talking about, it runs deep. It's powered by people who have their feet firmly planted here, not by people whose eyes are forever cast elsewhere, who see BC only as a gateway to somewhere else, to California or to China, or as a potential for future profits, not as a place to cherish in the here and now. So in that spirit, I think we have a message for Christy Clark, which is that this kind of emotion, this kind of commitment is far outside the system that places monetary value on everything. And our resistance is not for sale at any price. There's something else that this incredible movement has awakened, which is a new appreciation among many of us for the gift that is Indigenous sovereignty, and for the fact that the vast majority of this province has never been unceded. It is Indigenous land. Now, right-wing radio and governments are forever trying to present Indigenous land rights as a threat posed to non-Indigenous people, as a zero-sum game. But what this movement and so many other movements have shown us is that far from being a threat, these rights are the moral and legal basis on which we will fight and win. In that spirit, I also have a message for Stephen Harper, which is that these rights are unshakable and non-negotiable, and no matter how many scientists you fire, no matter how many studies you bury, no matter how many environmental laws you shred or environmental groups you bully, these facts will not change. We will still know that these pipelines are an attack on all that we cherish, and we will respond accordingly. You know, when this battle gets tough and ugly, and boy, will it get ugly and tougher, we're often told that we're irrelevant, that, you know, they're going to get that oil out anyway, one way or another, and they pit communities against each other, or they pit one fossil fuel against each other. They say, you know, well, the real problem is coal. I mean, compared to coal, tar sands are a gift, right? And then the natural gas companies say, well, compared to tar sands, this is clean energy. But you know what's amazing is when we're told that we're irrelevant, that the truth is just the opposite, that we are part of a groundswell, of a major movement, a global movement that is getting particularly strong in North America, and that matters because it's in North America where we have the greatest historical responsibility for the climate crisis. And this is a movement against all forms of extreme energy, of particularly dirty energy. And this is a movement on a roll. It is a movement that is fighting and winning battles against mountaintop coal mining in Appalachia. It's a movement that has managed to ban hydraulic fracking from New York State. It's the movement that has been fighting the Keystone XL pipeline. It's a movement that is fighting drilling in the Arctic. And so far from being isolated, the beautiful truth is that we have these fossil fuel companies surrounded, and they're running scared. Now, in the months to come, as this battle heats up, one of the things that we're going to hear a lot about is how, you know, since the Exxon Valdez disaster, the technologies have gotten a lot better, and since the Kalamazoo spill, pipelines have gotten a lot safer, and tankers are safer. We'll hear all about that. The truth is that these fossil fuel companies don't know the meaning of the word safe. If we burn the oil and gas that these companies already have in reserve, that they have already purchased their claim to, what will happen is that the temperature on this planet, the temperatures on this planet will increase to 5 times the level that that internationally we have agreed are safe, and those levels, frankly, are too high. So 5 times more than the 2-degree limit that was set in Copenhagen, which in itself was an outrageous limit. In other words, the oil industry has already shown us that they are willing to risk the habitability of the planet in pursuit of profit. Of course, they will risk our coast without a second thought, but we will not let them. That is our unshakable resolve. Thank you all for being here.